I had to make a list of all of my judgments against God. And believe me, I've been lectured more times than I care to count on all the people that were like, you can't talk to God that way. You can't have a grievance with God. And I'm thinking, I kind of got saved because I was shaking my fist at heaven and dropping F-bomb every other word and saying, you better prove yourself to me. So it was extremely humbling when people came to me as of late and said, you got a mouth on you, and we can kind of feel your judgment of everybody else, but they were afraid to tell me so. So after I did my list of judgments towards God, I also had to do them towards people in ministry, and that means leadership. And it was kind of making its climactic head when our pastor's wife came over a little over a month ago now, and she got that ball rolling where she was like, I want to apologize for all the leaders in your past that have just used you and spit you out. Hence, we come down to our core belief system. Now, for me, as a complex trauma survivor, I do feel that there's probably more than one core belief. A lot of people, can kind of narrow it down and pinpoint it, but I have about 3, and they would be abandonment, being unheard, and being insignificant. And so those 3 things kind of shape my perception every time I enter a room. Therefore, I'm making all these judgments against other people to protect myself from being hurt again. And of course, this is made when we are small because authority figures, have misused their position to keep us controlled or harm us. But it doesn't work so much when we're adults. And this is just kind of a humbling type of confession. I'm sure I have a confessor part that's up right now. But when we have been hurt by the church because our family hurt us, and we're looking for a surrogate to come around and be like, oh yeah, blood's thicker than water, we're all in Jesus, and we're going to love you here, just as long as you toe that line. For me, it had just been years and years and years of empty promises, actually having those expectations dashed with disappointment, and very much so being underwhelmed with society as a whole, because if Christians couldn't even treat each other with respect and honor, how much less is the world going to do so? And these things kind of just allowed me to, chill out and reread Ecclesiastes and claim it as, like my badge of honor because I was worthy of suffering. And many people have come to me in the past 3 weeks to say, it's all in what you believe, and that bitterness will absolutely fester, and after it hurts everybody else, it will demolish you. And I was decaying from the inside out, just looking for every which way to guide me into the direction where I should have been walking, because if we hear that saying that everything we need is within ourselves, and I wasn't buying it because I sure as heck couldn't see evidence in anybody else around me, and I didn't want anything that they had because they'd all pissed me off and let me down, if I'm going to be real. And then it came time to worship today in church and to hear the message of fight or flight, which I will get into in another message. But it was phenomenal to hear them put my insides on blast and basically dispel secrecy, which is the suggestion of Satan anyway, that tells us you have to be shamed for what you're really thinking, because if they knew it and found out, they would just think you were scum anyway. And believe me, that jargon was going around like a broken record in my brain, but the yoke of heaviness was exchanged today, because in my gratefulness for being told what I was doing wrong, I realized I could make the changes. That, in fact, I am the only one that can make the changes inside of myself. And this has been a process. When I tell you I journaled about 23 some pages of all of my judgments, and I'm thinking it's all done, and I can just crumple up the paper and toss it and let's carry on to the next agenda. No, no, no. I can look at somebody and be like, oh yeah, remember I hated them for this. Big time with siblings. If you weren't even raised to know how to love your siblings, or if you were made to rival against each other, then yeah, it might bring a little joy to be like, ha, they got theirs. Believe me, I'm not saying anything that's foreign to any of us. This is all natural because we're human, spiritual beings, and we can sense, feel, or know when we walk into a room. But I'm just grateful and want to share with you to nip these things in the bud. Make a list. Make a list of mom and dad first. And that's really important if you don't know who they are. If they passed away, if you were adopted, in that absence, there left a mark because it had you seeking to find something all this time. If you had a parent that didn't love you in the ways in which you needed, there's still an abandonment, core belief of what's wrong with me, any of those things. Make your list. Make your list and spend as many days possible on why you've judged them, and then forgive them, forgive you, and just make this statement. I break agreement with every bitter judgment and resentment that I have towards this person. And I no longer want to side with the suggestion of Satan that tells me I need to continue to be critical and condemn them. Forgive me for doing so. And I give them back everything that was stolen in my judgment, and give back to me the freedom and mercy that I need. And then ask for the change. It's powerful to be grateful, and I'm hoping you find that way soon.